Hello, Bizarre Story friends. If you are listening right now, you are tuned in to the Bizarre AF, where we talk about the strange, the absurd, the unknown, and things that are bizarre as fuck. I'm Kevin. I will be your host for today's episode, and as always, we ask that you keep an open mind, keep a skeptical ear, but keep listening to the facts as we take you on our newest journey, J-Rod and Element 115. Girlfriend, how are you doing today?
Oh my God, I am so good. I'm so good.
I didn't tell Alicia what today's episode was going to be, so she had no clue.
No idea until you just said it. And now I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm so ready to. I've been wanting to talk about this.
Me too. I was going to do, I think I told you, I was going to do an episode about murder. I think it's time for some murder. Oh, wait, murder.
There we go, yeah.
But this just kept coming up, and like when I was doing things and seeing notes, and this just kept coming up and coming up. I'm like, I've got to get this out of my brain.
Oh my God, I am so happy you're doing this because it's been in my brain too, and I'm like, I'm like, okay, there's so much to talk about with this.
Another one we could just do episodes on.
Fuck yeah, yeah. I mean, like talk about honestly one of the first conspiracies or stories that I heard that I was like, wait, there's something to this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's why it keeps coming back into my brain, because there's something with it. There's something with it.
Oh my God. I am so excited for this fucking adventure we're going to go on today.
Yes, it is going to be an adventure. So, Groom Lake.
Okay.
Pittman Station.
Mm-hmm.
Paradise Ranch, St. Elsewhere, Dreamland.
St. Elsewhere. Okay, I've heard of that.
You heard of these?
Yeah.
These are the many names given to Area 51.
Shut up, really?
Yes.
Oh my God. What was the dream one?
Dreamland.
Dreamland. Uh-oh.
Groom Lake, Pittman Station, Paradise Ranch, St. Elsewhere, Dreamland.
Okay, Dreamland sounds like dream with the fishes kind of Dreamland.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So I know we've talked about Area 51. It's kind of come up in our episodes in some form or fashion, especially when you start talking about government, conspiracies, aliens. But we're gonna dive into it more today, and it's going to be less about Area 51 specifically, although we do talk about it, but more about what's inside of it, and specifically around J-Rod and Element 115. Okay.
Ooh, I'm on the edge of my seat.
All right. So for those of you who live under a rock, Area 51 is a remote base located in the desert of Nevada. From a distance, it looks like any other air base in the world. It is, however, one of the most heavily guarded bases in the world. In fact, they still have kill on sight orders for for trespassers.
Really? I didn't know
at
that.
This base. Yeah.
Wow.
And this base has been confirmed by many people. They used to investigate alien technology and spacecraft that have been recovered through various incidents, like the Roswell incident of 1947. We got the egg-shaped craft received from Fort Polk, Louisiana in 1953. We've got the Hopkinsville attack of aliens in Kentucky in 1955, in which the pilot claimed he actually flew alien bodies to Maxwell Air Force Base. And that was actually where the term Little Green Men came from, was that incident.
Oh.
Which is another trivia fun fact. People have also reported the build and testing programs of experimental aircraft which use alien propulsion technologies, which we're going to actually get into because that is where Element 115 comes into play.
I have my notebook out.
Now, the fact that the U.S. government wouldn't even acknowledge the existence of this base until 2013
Right.
says volumes.
Yeah.
Volumes.
Yeah. I mean, who wasn't it like Obama or whatever who was like, yeah, I remember it was like a story like on fucking Yahoo News or something. It's like, oh, guess what? Area 51's real, guys. You're like, no fucking duh. Yeah. Like, is it April Fool's Day? Like,
Exactly.
what the fuck, Obama? Yeah, we know. We all know.
Exactly.
Those of us who are in the fucking know,
We know.
we know. Yeah.
But I think that pressure was only due to all of this increased scrutiny and speculation around all of the increased reports and of all these aircrafts that were coming in and extraterrestrials being kept there. I mean, more and more people were talking about it and saying, corroborating other people's stories.
Right.
And so that pressure, they finally had to just go, look, we can't stop playing stupid.
Yeah. People actually know there's some shit
They
going
know
on.
what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many attribute the government's finally admitting the base existence was significant to be fueled by a startling interview in 1989 by a man with the name of Bob Lazar.
Oh my God. I was just waiting for you to talk about my boy, Bob Lazar. I was just waiting. I fucking love Bob Lazar. He is the fucking truth teller, isn't he?
So when you listen to him,
Yeah.
if you listen to the reporters that have interviewed him, it is, you really are like, why am I questioning this?
I mean, yes.
Some stuff oh God, there's just so much. But let me give you a quick example.
Oh, please do.
Okay. So one example was in this interview, he talks about this thing where he puts his hand on it and there's these pins. And he was having a hard time describing what it is, but basically it was like an X-ray. He thought it was, what it did was it X-rayed your bones, and every bone was unique, and that's how they would get
Like the
into these
measurements
facilities.
of your bone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they would put it on this hand on this thing, and it had these, if you're seeing on video, these spikes that would kind of come up through your fingers to position your fingers just exactly right. And everyone told him he was a loony bin person. Like, you cuckoo boo boo.
That sounds, you cuckoo boo boo for sure. It sounds like it's coming out of some kind of like
Totally
sci-fi, 1950s fucking alien green men bullshit. That doesn't exist.
They interviewed him several years ago, and another reporter found pictures of that thing and she said, Bob, is this what you were talking about? He said, oh my God, I never thought I would see this again. That is exactly it.
Where he was putting his own hand.
Where he was putting his hand on the thing. They actually had photographs. It was real.
So was it like a biometric screening?
It was the beginning of biometrics.
And that was like when, the 80s?
Yes.
The 1980s. He's saying, this was like before, do you remember?
Actually, late 70s.
Oh, late 70s.
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s. It was in that time frame.
Okay, so remember like Men in Black, where Will Smith puts his hand on that like globe thing and it like burns his fingerprints off or whatever?
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw that, I was like, there's no way we could do anything like that. And now it's like, I have a fucking smartwatch on right now, you know? Like.
And Roy's will like read your oxygen level and
Mine
your
does
blood
too.
pressure and your, all of that beep, your EKG.
Yes. It'll read, it'll read everything. It'll read like how well you're sleeping. Yeah, your oxygen saturation levels. Like,
Please.
what the fuck? And Bob Lazar is like,
He's like,
this is what
this
we
is
used to do.
real.
People are like, yeah, right, fucking
whatever,
weirdo.
Bob. Bob. And then they show him this thing and he's like, that's it.
How did he
I told
get
you
a-
bitches I wasn't lying.
How did they get the picture?
I don't recall how this reporter found the pictures. He was a good reporter.
Okay, so wait, can we like rewind it?
Yes.
Who the fuck is Bob Lazar?
So-
if you don't know.
Yes, if you don't know. Yeah.
Because-
So I should have written a better bio on Bob, but Bob was a scientist who worked in Area 51, and specifically he worked in an area called S4.
Okay.
Now, S4 is located about 15 miles southwest of what we know of as Area 51. It's all underground. There's 5 levels, all underground.
Underground, huh?
But it's a good ways away from what we would say Area 51. There's the runway, there's the plane, right? There's the hangars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was about 15 miles away from there. But call it S4. And he worked in there. He was a scientist. He'd worked in there with other scientists. And they had come up with some roadblocks. They'd hit some roadblocks on some things, and they were trying to find some smart people to help.
Right.
Little did Bob know what he was getting himself into.
Yeah, because he was like well known. Like he would be fucking around with like design, like he made his own like bicycle that like was propelled by rocket fuel and shit. Like
yes.
like this guy was like a mad genius, like a mad scientist. He wasn't necessarily like, oh hey, I'm like way learned from like I'm like a Ivy League bro. He's
Right.
not like that. He was like a Tesla, like I'm incredibly intelligent,
able to think outside the box.
Yes.
Just we thought differently than most people.
Totally.
Which allowed him to come up with things.
So they scouted him. They're
Scouted
like, hey,
him. Yep. Brought him in. So among many of his shocking claims, he reports this this is where we learn about S4 in this interview.
he says he specifically calls out
S4.
S4.
About
Okay.
where he was working. Because if you don't know if you've heard this interview or seen this, it's very long and it's very detailed. And he doesn't stumble over his words.
No, anytime
He's
I've
so
ever
articulate.
incredibly articulate and like honestly like okay, I'm love Bob Lazar, love him. I'll say that. But fuck, can he be boring when he's talking
God,
about and
you're
droning out about. It's like, dude, give me a little bit of fucking excitement in this information.
Totally.
Like, but that's the way
typical
scientists.
Yes.
Just very analytical.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Now this S4 has been corroborated by many people. So it's not just Bob talking about S4. Many people have talked about S4. He's very specific around the 5 levels in this place, and they contain the very most top secret things ever held. They are there. We're talking ETs, live and dead. We're talking about spaceships. We're talking about Element 115, which we're going to talk about. That's where all the good shit is.
This is in Nevada.
Yes.
Okay. I want to go.
Who don't?
Well, but what are they going to do? Wipe your fucking mind? Is it still here in existence? It's still there?
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, if you work at S4,
Give me a call.
hit us up. Call us up. Go onto our website, thebizarref.com.
So he said he worked at S4 and he was directly involved in the reverse engineering of the spacecraft that I previously mentioned that was taken there.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of his jam.
Right, because he could make shit go, right? He put like rocket fuel on a fucking bicycle and like...
Yeah, and this...
Of course they'd go to him.
Right. Reverse engineer us. Tell us what this is, how this works.
Break it and
figure it out. Yep.
Wow, okay.
So these spaceships ostensibly use some sort of propulsion system that harnessed the power of gravity. This is how they worked. And they did it by manipulating gravity waves. And the key to this success was somehow directly related to the material that the spacecraft themselves were constructed of. So it's not like we know of today where you have some propulsion engine that you mix fuel and you exhaust and you create propulsion. This had some direct translation with the material that the ship was made out of that somehow affected gravity.
So it was directly working with gravity.
Yeah, this material was somehow working with gravity. It's gonna start to make sense.
Okay. I'm like, this is all over my head.
Yeah, no, but you're gonna kind of go, oh, in just a minute. Even though I'm told science is dumbass, but when I start telling you about this,
it's gonna kind of click. Thank God I have a cocktail. Everything starts to make sense.
Speaking of,
cheers.
Cheers, peeps. We're drinking a Mandarin. No. Yeah, Myers lemon drop.
Oh my God, it's delicious.
Myers lemons are
Kevin
so great.
made
They're
it.
kind of like orangey and lemony.
Oh, so good. Wow.
Okay. So Bob stated that the fuel for these craft was, at some point in time, an undiscovered element known simply as element 115. Now, keep in mind, at the time of this interview, this is 1989, the periodic table of elements was a complete list. I mean, these were all the elements known to man.
Right.
Elements, a table of elements. These were our elements.
The periodic table, that's what we grew up with, right?
Right.
Argon, boron, all that dumb bullshit you had to fucking memorize when you were a junior in high school.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Did not go to 115.
No.
No. He described in detail of what one of these alien craft was like inside, emphasizing that the chair that the pilot would sit in was way too small for an adult human.
It was like a child's chair or something?
Yeah, it's about that size. And if you look at descriptions of the little green men,
they're little,
skinny little bodies.
They're like toddler.
Yes.
They're like maybe like 3-year-olds with like massive fucking heads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That aligns.
Yeah.
Now, what I would consider the most absolute incredible claim was that aliens have been involved in human affairs for over 10,000 years and is directly related to how he knew about element 115. Now, in the interview, Bob has his identity concealed, but he later comes forward and kind of spoke clearly. That's how we know it's Bob Lazar. But in this particular interview, he was all like concealed, right? Nobody was supposed to know who he was. And when he asked why he broke his anonymity, he stated it wasn't an effort to protect himself from the government, who would no longer be able to silence him without encouraging unwanted interest in the goings on in Area 51. So it was about self-preservation.
Oh, so that's like you, okay, hide in plain sight.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
If they
So
know.
now, by the way, if I get murdered,
you guys fucking know because I
Cooperation,
was
yes.
the whistleblower.
Yep.
So he was fearing for his life because they started finding out that he was like divulging
Yes.
government secrets.
Yes.
Okay. 1, that's super fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
2, thank you, Bob, for doing the fucking Lord's work and telling the fucking people that, hey, we're not alone.
Right.
By the way, oh yeah, aliens have been interacting. Aliens are fucking real, and they've been interacting
For 10,000 years.
10,000. Okay, that is a question. How the fuck does he know that?
Well, because
He's just reverse engineering, right?
no, because we're going to talk about J-Rod.
Okay, sorry.
And I'm also going to tell you there's a difference between ET and aliens. It's going to be very important in this discussion.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
So Bob has taken all kinds of lie detector tests to support his claims. They see no deception in his lie detectors.
Right.
And of course, people will say, well, anybody can pass them. Well, no, not really. But okay, that aside, whatever. That's just, the more you read and learn about Bob and people, you really start, there's really validity in what he's talking about. If you can see past the craziness that we don't understand, there's some validity here.
I think that you're right. You're right about that. It seems really crazy.
Yeah.
And so people say, oh, crazy. This makes no fucking sense.
Right.
You're wrong.
It's easy to just go, you're making it up.
This dude's been saying the same shit for 30 years.
Identically. He hasn't changed
No,
anything.
Nothing's changed.
And again, I go back to that hand thing. And 20, 30 years later, he goes, that's the thing I told you about 30 years ago.
They show him
the
proof.
picture.
He had been talking about it, and he's like, look, like, it's almost like I would think I would be going fucking crazy.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Nobody's believing me. Then he finally sees, he's like, there's vindication, but like, at what fucking point? Like,
Yep.
like 30 years later, cool. Now you know that I was telling the truth. Why didn't you fucking believe me?
Sad, right?
Super sad.
So I mentioned he's not the only person to have made these apparent claims about 51. In 1996, on Sky TV, they produced a documentary. Thank you. Why couldn't I say that word? About Area 51, and it was entitled Dreamland.
Dream with the fishes.
Dream with the fishes. So in that projection, a 71-year-old man claimed to be a former mechanical engineer at Area 51 who not only interacted with this alien technology, but interacted directly with someone known only as J-Rod.
Oh my God.
Now
I'm so freaked out.
His job was to build a simulator for the U.S. pilots to train and fly a disc-shaped craft under J-Rod's supervision.
So he has to build it, and J-Rod
is helping supervising this build. Well, J-Rod came from a ship.
Oh my God.
He was actually, we're going to talk about this in a second. He was actually in one of the crashes with two or three, this is where it was unclear, 2 or 3 other ETs.
Okay.
And he survived.
He was the survivor, the sole survivor?
Was a survivor.
Okay.
So J-Rod is also the person that told Bob about Element 115.
Wait, J-Rod knows both Bob and our 71-year-old?
They were both working in S4.
What's the 71-year-old's name? Well, we'll just call him 71-year-old.
Yeah, we'll call him 71-year-old.
So he and Bob know each other.
They do.
What?
They were working in the same area.
Okay.
So
wow, okay.
So who is J-Rod?
Who fucking is J-Rod?
Who the hell is J-Rod? And what kind of name is J-Rod?
We're not what what isn't it? Oh, A-Rod.
Yeah. Not A-Rod.
J-Rod. He's A-Rod's cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
J-Rod.
All right, now all these claims made by Lazar are clearly, everyone's tagging them as absurd, as no one has ever heard of, had any knowledge of, or seen anything in our table around Element 115. Like, stop making shit up, Bob.
Right.
So we had discovered, like I said, us brilliant humans who know everything have discovered all the possible elements.
We know everything. It's already been found out. So
God, shut up, Bob. So they were giving Bob the
wow, crazy. You're crazy, girl.
Poor Bob.
Poor Bob, man.
So in 2003, Bob got some vindication and increased credibility when this elusive element was actually synthesized by Russian scientists. They actually created Element 115.
What?
And they dubbed them as Moscovium, based on the city where it was discovered.
Moscow.
Yeah, exactly. And then 12 years after that achievement, the discovery of Element 115 was finally confirmed after numerous tests which verified its existence, and temporarily they named it unimpinium, which is based on some Latin or Greek word for the atomic number 115. Unimpinium. Oh,
we're not going to call it Element 115 because Bob already came out and he kind of ruined our fucking
so it's something
party.
Different.
Yeah, it's something totally different, like the same thing in Latin.
So
you wouldn't know.
Now, but the scientist's version of 115 just differs drastically from what Bob described, since according to the reports, as the element decays in less than a second and therefore can't be used for anything. I mean, if an element decays in less than a second, how can you fucking fly a ship with it?
Right.
So clearly it's different.
Yeah.
But we're going to go into a little science now so we can kind of prepare ourselves to understand Element 115 a little bit.
Get your thinking caps on.
Little nerdy thinking caps on. Okay, so in case you forgot your high school chemistry, there's a quick refresher. An element's atomic number is the number of protons it contains in its nucleus. So the heaviest element in nature, in our nature, is uranium, which has 92 protons, element 92. But heavier elements, which have more protons in their nucleus, those can be created through nuclear fusion.
Fusion.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the way you make new elements is by shooting a beam of an element at another element, and then you making them directly collide. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Now, in this case, the researchers used what they call americium, which is an unstable radioactive element, and they fired calcium atoms, which are much, much lighter, and they fired that at this americium, I think it's americium, for weeks, months. They're doing this forever. And most of the calcium atoms just bounced off. But every now and then, an atom would hit it just right so it would collide directly. And so instead of bouncing off, it literally collide and it stuck to this element. And when that happened, you got this short-lived atom with more protons in its nucleus, which is the center of this new element, 115. Okay. So how did they know it created the new element if it only existed for less than a second? So they look at what they call decay products. Okay. And they look for these telltale signs of 115 when it disintegrates by what they call alpha particle emissions. Now, I don't expect anybody to remember all of this, but this is just to kind of help you understand how they're getting there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then when they see enough of those signals, they can say with high probability that they've formed this new element. Now, it took years for researchers to work out these details about what they're now calling ununpinium. And it wasn't until 2018 that a Berkeley lab scientist figured out that the element's mass, or the atomic weight, which is the total number of protons and neutrons in an atom, was 288. Now, 288, that is way heavy.
Yeah, it's super
like
heavy.
If the heaviest one we had is 92,
Yeah.
and this is 288, wow, I mean, that's off the charts.
Totally.
Now, to nab that number, they repeated this process that the first discoveries used to pin down the element. So in doing so, they managed to produce roughly 1 atom of ununpinium a day. And that atom was captured in an instrument they called Fiona. And if anyone cares, it's called for the identification of nucleide A. That's what Fiona stands for. I mean, it makes no sense to us. But.
Yeah. Works for them.
So which to the untrained eye under a microscope looks like a little metal bank vault, is what they called
Oh,
it. Looks like a little bank
cute.
vault. Now, it also shares a commonality to plutonium, which is being tested as a propulsion element like rocket fuel. Okay, so now we kind of a little bit more understand about 115.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that we produce it, it lasts less than a second.
Yes.
And that its weight couldn't really be sustained. It's so unbelievably heavy. I think we can safely say element 115, of which they have samples of,
Yeah.
could not possibly have been created on Earth.
No. Not using any of the technology that we know, right?
Right.
Because we can't sustain it or hold on to it for long enough.
That's right.
Using like what you're saying, like the means that we're trying to create these elements.
That's right.
It's not sustainable. There's no way.
So, according to Bob, these craft were made out of one single piece. There was no joints. There was no weld. So it's almost as if
One piece of material, like one
as
piece of
if
metal.
It occurred, imagine occurring naturally in the world. Imagine having this huge boulder and you carve out of it. You carve a shape out of this boulder. And that's your ship. It just happens to be that this material is element 115.
Almost like shaving cream or something.
So it's as if this material occurs naturally on whatever planet this is from. It's sustainable there. Maybe they have unbelievably heavy gravity. Maybe they have unbelievably no gravity. I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I can't tell you which it would be, but the conditions are right for this particular element.
Right.
And again, the fact that there is no welding points in these ships, like a zero none. Now, I suppose you could probably say a lot of times they weld metal here on Earth and you can't see a joint. But I think when you X-ray it and stuff, I think you can see those. You can tell that they've been joined.
Mm-hmm.
They did all of that. There was no
They
joints.
X-rayed it. They did all the things that they typically do. Like okay, you're looking up like King Tut. Okay, King Tut is a mummy. How many? They found out that he had a club foot and all this other stuff just by putting it through an MRI machine. So I'm assuming that's what they did with this to try to find out, like, okay, where's the joints? Like, how did they weld it together? Maybe it's like a really fine weld. Maybe it's like, I don't know, fucking sewn or something, and it's just like really done well.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. So, I mean, is that Bob's guess that it's something that is more like carved from stone?
Well,
or?
he had to. That was his deduction based upon all he knows about everything we just talked about.
Right.
Right. And so that's how he deduced that it must have been a single piece, unless there's some technology we're just unaware of.
Right.
Of course. But that was his deduction. Bob stated that the fuel rods were cut out of shapes of triangular discs about the size of a silver dollar. So, if you look on the internet and you search for element 115, you'll see people that have tried to simulate what they think it would look like, based on descriptions. And it looks like a little triangular silver dollar.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah. It's very safe to handle. It was the lowest level of alpha particle he had ever measured in anything. And he said there was some sort of a coating over it that was a copper color.
Huh.
So then the question becomes, well, so how did Bob know? I mean, what made him call it element 115?
Yeah.
Like, how did this, I mean, how
they already have a vocabulary for it.
Because he wasn't creating it at this point in time. When no one, because this wasn't until 2000s that we were able to actually do this,
to actually do it. Yeah,
Right.
but it seems to me like they already had a vocabulary around it, because come on, he fucking talked to J-Rod.
That's exactly how he
that
found
it?
out about element 115 was J-Rod. J-Rod was telling him all about this stuff.
What the fuck?
So now, have you heard of J-Rod before?
Okay, so I know a couple of things about J-Rod.
Okay.
That I knew that they had him, that he was very sick, right, while he was here. So he was in that, I don't know what the fuck he was, they, them, whatever, The ET, J-Rod, was very sick and didn't come out of the crash unscathed. So they were really hurt. And the way, like, I don't know what it is, some kind, whatever our environment is, we can't really feed him properly or sustain his body for a long period of time.
Exactly. So they had to make some accommodations to sustain him, and they kept him in captivity for like 50 years.
Shut up. I only thought it was a couple of years.
No.
What?
Yes. Good long time.
Shut up. Oh my God.
Right.
We've had an alien living here for 50 fucking years.
Yeah.
No wonder why Bob knows all this shit from fucking good old J-Rod.
Well, and he's not the only one, right? Because we'd heard about Mr. 71-year-old. So have you ever heard of a guy named Dr. Dan Burish?
No, I haven't.
So he's a microbiologist. And he has some involvement, which I'm still trying to piece together how he's involved in all of this, but I think he has a real there's some real connection between him and Bob.
Okay.
And this Dr. Dan Burish, he defines an ET as a real person, a person from the future with a genome similar to humans, is what an ET is.
A person from the future?
Right.
Whoa. Okay. Wait, I have a question, because what you just said makes me really fucking freaked out, dude. Okay. So a they have the same genome as we do.
Same genome. Well, the genome is similar to humans.
To humans from the future.
There's an evolution happening.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's what we're supposed to be?
Yes.
That's what we're going to be?
Yes.
No.
That's what we're going to evolve to.
No, dude, I can't. I cannot.
Well, you're not.
I am so freaked out about this.
Well, it's going to... Okay. Yeah, you can be freaked out.
I am so scared.
Don't be scared.
So wait a second. E.T. is basically future humans.
In a nutshell, yes.
Yeah.
And aliens they're from a completely different solar system with zero genome relation to the human race.
Okay.
That's what he defines the difference between ETs and aliens.
So ETs are still from our same solar system.
Same genome or similar genomes, where as an alien would be like zero. It would be like on Star Trek, like you have some, like they, the blob that floats down the hall and talks to you. Hey, Bob, the floating blob. He would be an alien.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, am I?
Yes, you are. So in Kingman, Arizona in 1953, there was a crash.
Yeah.
3 beings. 2 were taken to Los Alamos. 1 was taken to S4.
Why would they split them up?
Good question. Who knows?
Because they're fucking assholes.
Because they're idiots.
And because the government does not talk to each other.
Fucking
So
idiots.
CIA is probably like, well, we get one. The FBI is like, well, I want one too. It's like, can't you guys just fucking talk to each other and stop being little bitches?
Right, exactly.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
You deserve that outburst. J-Rod was the one taken to S4. Now, J-Rod is an alien.
Yes.
Sorry, excuse me, an ET.
Mm-hmm. Future us.
He is a humanoid. Now, according to J-Rod, he is from almost 1,000 years in the future.
53,000 years in the future.
So imagine evolution over 53,000 years could be pretty significant.
Yes, absolutely.
And he looks different again through physical evolution.
Does he look like a little green man?
He looks like the gray man. Kind of looks like the gray, the kind of triangular shaped eye with the big,
oh my God, yeah.
the big black bug eyes.
Oh, that's freak me out, dude. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's our future.
So there's a guy named C. Ronald Gardner who has had a number of interviews and writings, countless papers on J-Rod. And he has done extensive interviews with Dr. Bursch. And so in short, J-Rod is an ET who was intentionally sent to Earth as sort of what they say is some sort of sacrificial lamb in order to work in conjunction with the humans to develop cures to ailments in both races. Now, he says that J-Rod actually had neuropathy disease himself, which is one of the reasons he was selected on this particular mission. He was ultimately the prisoner that they took to S4.
Poor dude.
And was kept separate from not only his own beings, because they took him, to the other base, but he had very limited number of humans that he was to work with. He also had to breathe 5% more hydrogen than we have in our atmosphere. So they had to put him in a room that had 5% more hydrogen in order for him to breathe properly. Okay, so per Mr. Garner, J-Rod was 15 light years from planet Earth. That's where his civilization lived.
Okay.
15 light years from planet
not
Earth.
on Earth.
Not on Earth,
Thank
right.
God. Okay, that's not us. For sure.
So his real name was... it's hard to understand this interview. It's almost like Kal-El. And I'm like, Kal-El?
Kal-El.
It's like
Kal-El.
Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it was something similar to that. And that makes me wonder, whoever wrote Superman, I wonder if that's how they got his name.
Oh my gosh, what if J-Rod's like, hey, by the way, here's like my kryptonite.
I'm just wondering if the writer knew about this somehow. And
you
goes,
never know.
Kal-El.
Well, I mean, okay, so here's the question. he was specifically sent onto planet Earth
Yes.
to help with whatever kind of diseases.
Medical
stuff.
Uh-huh.
How long had he been here, right? Like how many people had
He crashed.
Oh, he had crashed straight away.
Yes. They
Oh,
caught
what a
him right after he
bummer.
crashed.
Okay, so he
Yes.
hadn't been here before that. He was just
Not
coming
to my
in.
knowledge.
Okay. And what kind of medical stuff was he supposed to be helping with?
Well, so he had that ailment, that neuropathy.
yeah.
And so I didn't hear in this interview specifically what he was supposed to do on, but it was just to kind of help in some sort of of research for medical ailments in general. That's what I know.
Huh.
So in 1953, the military has a unit, and they call this military unit Sigma Unit. Now, the purpose of the Sigma Unit is they're nothing but linguists and psychologists,
Okay.
the Sigma Unit. And so their responsibility is to communicate with
Oh, yeah, that was
aliens.
my question,
It's like Lieutenant Lahura.
Yeah.
Right. So she's the one that's kind of translator between everybody, and she understands language well enough to kind of help figure what they're saying.
Yeah.
So that's the point of Sigma Unit. And so the Sigma Unit asks, at the time they didn't, or I'm saying J-Rod, we didn't know who he was at the time.
Right.
They're asking him, where is he from? And they say that he points to the 10th letter on the keyboard, which was a J, and this Egyptian symbol that looks like a bar or a rod, which actually represents the number 5. And so through all this translation and such, they determine his home base is Zeta Reticuli, which is 15 light years from Earth. They figured out that's where he's from. And so hence his name becomes J-Rod.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Now this location, by the way, it's corroborated in another event. And I don't know if you've heard of the Betty
And Barney Hill incident?
Have you heard of that?
Fuck yeah, I have. If you're listening right now, you definitely have too. And if you haven't, we will be talking about it. It's on the list.
When they put her under hypnosis, I don't know exactly how it worked, but she directed them, I think it's through a model or something, to Zeta Reticuli. Reticuli. She said that's where the event, where it was taken. Yeah, taken.
What? Yeah, and fuck.
Yeah, so there was a...
So this is not the first fucking time that...
Right, exactly.
What year did they catch, not catch, well, I guess kind of, J-Rod?
Poor J-Rod. Poor boy.
I know.
In 1950... Wait, I said it before.
Yeah, in Kingman.
Where's my notes?
I think it was 54.
Yes, in Kingman. 50... Damn it. I hate when I do
Doesn't
that.
matter.
53.
53, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God, he just died in 2013? Or 2003, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, okay.
So that connection, so that's one of the things. So it's that kind of stuff where you're like, bullshit. No one's making this shit up.
No, it's too many, like...
There's too many connections.
Yes.
Too many people saying the same thing
The
repeatedly.
same shit, yes.
And it's, like as we said, it's easy to go bullshit.
Right. Oh, so easy.
So
yeah.
easy to say bullshit. But you just got to keep an open mind, like we say at the top of the show every single episode, because things...
There are patterns.
Yeah.
You can say like, okay, that's just like a random weather pattern or whatever. Like, that's fine. But like, if people are saying the same stuff and they've been saying it for years and years, like maybe there is something to it,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
Like maybe this area is a place where there is fucking life, that we
Yes.
know of.
Yes.
And, just the fact that like, Betty Hill had come out and, had talked about it under hypnosis. And then we have a fucking straight up alien in our fucking midst that says, oh yeah, this is exactly where I'm from. Through this. By the way, that was one thing I was going to ask about. Like, so you said that this translation, like these folks were able to like establish communication with him.
Yeah.
Did they learn his language?
I think
or
I never really got any answers to that I felt not plausible, that I felt comfortable
Sharing.
going
Yeah.
for sure, right?
This is what happened.
Right.
But they were able to communicate.
I feel
some way.
like what I gather is that, like with anything, if you go lived in Japan for 10 years, you're going to learn how to speak Japanese.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? So I feel like it's the same concept.
Yeah.
I feel like
it was a spoken language,
what
though.
occurred. Right. So crazy. Here's a question I have for you for, I don't know, conspiracy, but if we had element 115 in its stable form, we know that it is a power source. It could be infinite. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if it ever runs out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would change the fucking world.
Yeah. Yeah, it would.
Change the world.
Yeah.
I mean, energy right now is
we currently have access to it, right? Not like we can create it, but like if these aliens had it,
yeah,
we have it.
We have the ship, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could. Yeah, I don't know what I don't know, but energy is the weak link in our world because technology grows and grows and grows at a pace that we can't even keep up with. And energy is always the thing that tries to keep up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So if you had that somehow can manipulate gravity, make shit fly without fuel.
Right.
That would change the world.
It would totally change the world. It would change the world, yes. But there are a lot of people who would lose out on that change.
So the question becomes, do we have it?
If you're asking me, the conspiracy theorist in me says, fuck yeah, of course we do. My Excel bill just fucking went up by double.
Right?
Yeah. Our power in Colorado is Excel.
You're going to shit yourself. Mine was $600.
Oh, ours was 400. Yeah.
That is bullshit. Who can live like that?
During people are just wearing more than one layer inside their house. Like we're in 2023 right now. And it's like, well, fuck, like we're wearing more than one layer of clothing because these, these monopolies, utility monopolies can kind of just say whatever the fuck numbers that they want to say and charge us.
And what would happen if when element 115 or some fusion energy that we can control creates some infinite power? Then what they do? They'd be effed.
They'd be screwed. Yeah. They'd be screwed and they'd say, oh, well, we need to redo our infrastructure, the whole infrastructure. It's like, no, we fucking don't. You're just greedy motherfuckers. And there's no reason for you to have this much money.
No.
If you're asking me specifically, it would not surprise me if we do have access to cleaner, cheaper ways of
especially
fueling.
If we've been helped. Sorry, especially if the government has had interaction with people that have or ETs that have this knowledge.
Right. I mean, you can't tell me, one, how much has technology just fucking jumped?
God, I know.
Since the 1950s. Let's just talk about the 1950s. You remember how, like, you'd see pictures of calculators, like basic computer systems. They were rooms. Of what are those called? Like vacuum fucking.
Yeah, the vacuum tubes
and shit.
Yeah, the tapes like
so huge. Yeah. Now what? Like we have phones that are a huge computer. I have a fucking watch, does the same thing. Like
you have that little thing on your wrist.
Yeah. I can talk to it. It can follow me like on my hikes and knows exactly how high I go. I mean, Big Brother, but whatever. Like, yeah. I mean, the fact that within, 70 years, we've moved so quickly, like as far as our technology's gone, call me crazy. I don't fucking care. But like, I don't think that is a coincidence. We've had extraterrestrial extraterrestrial.
Right.
Thank you, Dan.
You're right.
Dan Bursch.
Yeah.
Had extraterrestrials who have said, hey, here's how we, but it's like, the thing that's infuriating to me is rather than helping humanity, which
Right.
like the Star Trek fucking alum I am, I want to see that we are helping humanity move forward.
That doesn't create profits.
It doesn't create profits. It doesn't create a, good marketing strategy or dumb people, right? Like, so, how can you control people? By having a stupid and, pretty vegetative population, like people who are just so set in their own ways. You don't give them the ability to not work anymore and like pursue knowledge or like, not have to pay a shitload for fucking energy that there's no reason for us to pay that fucking much.
Right.
Like the conspiracy is, what's the bigger conspiracy? That there was a fucking alien who came onto this, earth and told us like all this technology, or that the government is fucking holding all of that technology back to keep us in the fucking Stone Age.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
The fact that we're getting fucked by the man, like, not cool.
Right.
We didn't ask. It was not consensual, okay?
Yeah, right. It did not consent.
We did not consent in that. Not okay.
Right.
I think that it's really interesting that I totally believe, in short, that was not a short answer, but I believe we do have access to fucking element 115. There's no reason for the government or for anyone to actually make it available worldwide. You know what would make it available? A fucking ET, or not ET, an alien race comes over and tries taking over a fucking planet. That's the only way things would actually change.
Totally. Of course.
Only by threat.
So did you hear what happened in December? So you know that we had
Of 2022?
2022. So the atomic bomb is a fusion, but it's uncontrolled.
Yes.
They actually controlled it.
Yes.
Milliseconds, but they did.
Yes.
And created more energy that they input.
Yes. So more energy was created than what they used, which has never been the case.
Right.
It normally takes massive amounts of energy. This was the first time
They got more out.
they had more out, which is why,
Yes.
Nuclear power isn't necessarily a thing
Right.
in things aside from Springfield, right?
So this fusion is exciting.
Super fucking exciting. Do you
The
think it's
machine that
time?
makes it is
Yeah.
the size of a stadium.
Right. Wait, wasn't it done?
And it's like that big.
Yeah. Like all of this fucking output. It's so
Yeah.
insane.
Oh God. And I only mention that because I don't know why I mention it because
Perhaps it's tied.
maybe in some way these things have contributed to getting there, or I don't know, but it's time to fucking pull back the curtain.
I totally agree. Well, I mean, technically, like we are starting, I'm not on the side of anyone. I'm on the side of humanity.
Right.
But, the government is saying, hey, look, we know there's something we can't explain out there. If you have been a pilot and you've seen something fucking weird, talk to us. We want to hear the stories. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We can't. Is it little green men? We don't know. We're not saying we know, but we definitely don't know everything.
Right.
I think that's a move in the right direction. I think that oftentimes we downplay humanity and say that humans can't take knowledge beyond like what is being like doled to us like little baby birds or whatever.
Right.
I don't think that that's true.
I don't either.
But I think that there's a definite control of the narrative
Clearly.
by by whomever's powerful to try to hold on to that power or to that control. Because when you pull back the curtain, you don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. You don't. You don't, but you can't, you just can't move forward. I mean, you keep everything in secret like that, and
you get to choose when it moves forward.
You control, like you said, the narrative.
Yeah.
They're controlling the narrative. So that's my story.
There's so many questions I have.
Oh my God. It just opens the doors to so much. I mean, I could feel like I could talk about J-Rod all day long. I mean, I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That being is fascinating.
That being is fascinating. The fact that I know so fucking little.
So little.
We had 50 years. And I'm assuming he's communicating throughout all of those 50 years.
Totally.
So why don't we know more?
Exactly.
Where are the
has that
medical
information?
changes?
What is that information? What was that 50 years?
Why has cancer not been cured? Why do we still have diseases? Why did fucking COVID come? Maybe that's part of the whole thing. Oh, seriously. I mean, fuck, dude, that is like so fascinating.
Yeah. So,
J-Rod.
this whole traveling. So this race is they're time travelers.
So they're a time traveling race.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? I don't know why. I don't know their in game. I don't know.
Are they like the Watchers? So like they're time travelers and they're trying to help, existence in this universe.
If they're time travelers, then they know the path of the past. So
would you like to invite them to our podcast? J-Rod and the Time Traveler. So long as you guys, only if you have good intentions.
Yes, exactly.
You can totally be sitting next to us.
Sit right here.
You don't have to to be shown if you don't want to. We can try to find an oxygen tent where you're only in hydrogen or whatever.
I will totally make whatever.
I mean, if there's something can happen, it can happen.
I'll make it happen.
But friends of J-Rod, we're here.
Totally. Yeah. If you're listening to this transmission.
Can we be friends of J-Rod? That should be a new hashtag. Hashtag friends of J-Rod.
Yeah, nice. Awesome.
That would be awesome.
Put that on our little when you tweet about this episode.
Yeah. It's there.
Friends of J-Rod.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks for listening. And
gosh, thank you for that.
Like I said, we could go on for years and years, and we might bring this back up again if we get some more juice. Or,
if you guys have any juice, fucking send it to us.
Or maybe Friends of J-Rod wants to join.
Yes.
We'll totally do it.
Send us an email, info@thebizarreaf.com.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or leave us a voicemail. You can go to anchorf.fm, search for The Bizarre AF, and leave us a voicemail on our website.
Yes.
Leave us a voicemail.
Leave us a voicemail. Let's hear your
sultry
voices.
Cool. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.